Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's still relevant, damn it.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Still Real With Us show, episode number 115 for April 26, 2012. I am the champ, Jeff Peck, as always here. Sit down, take a seat, let's talk a little wrestling for the next hour. Joining me this week, as always, Redneck Revolution Rise Up. Welcome back, the one and only Captain Obvious. Captain, how are we, buddy?
Doing wonderful. Just sitting back, relaxing, and trying to enjoy a little bit of time at home with my daughter, hoping she doesn't try to jump in and take over the show at some point.
Ooh, interesting. See, this is the good thing, Captain. This is how much of a professional I've become in the world of podcasting, which may be an oxymoron. I have had many a children interrupt a podcast. If your daughter does, she will join the likes of Charlie Bauer and Zachary Cause in joining a podcast while it was being recorded.
Well, that is definitely a esteemed company to be in. So, I mean, the next generation of podcast legends, being produced right before the audience's very eyes.
Yes. So, any chance, you know what? I bet you your daughter has a better idea of what the hell happened this past Monday Night Raw than you and I did, because I don't think, and I've sat through many 3-hour Raws in the history of the WWE, Captain, and I don't think I could ever remember a time where a 3-hour Raw was filled with so much filler, segments, promos, lack of wrestling. At the end of the night, despite a really good opening segment with the return of Edge and a pretty good closing segment with Lesnar and Cena, I don't remember a time where I was like, usually Monday nights, Captain, I'm sitting there, I'm watching Raw, I'm not getting tired, I'm not getting bored, even when the boring episodes are going on and there's so much stupid stuff going on, I don't feel like I need to go to sleep. 10:15, I'm like, this is too much Raw for me. It was just out of control. I saw a lot of fans on Twitter tweeting that it was like Raw is slow, Raw is piss. Did you get that idea? Did you find Raw was just dragging way too much, or did you think it was a good 3-hour Raw?
No, I'm with the audience on that one. I really thought it kind of dragged on. I thought they were kind of like almost begging for content, almost trying to figure out. I hate to say it, but it was kind of booked like a TNA show where they're just kind of throwing stuff against the wall to see what the audience would kind of latch onto and trend. That's kind of like the WWE's way of knowing what's good and what's not, is what trends. And they were just hoping that something would kind of kick up like outside of the main two storylines.
Now, did you feel like it was a TNA show because the way it was being booked, or the fact that they had Brock Lesnar squashing 3 current TNA superstars when they went through the montage of Brock Lesnar's greatest hits?
Oh, you noticed that as well. It was like everybody who's currently on the TNA roster that Brock has wrestled, they had to feature that as one of his greatest moments. But It's been the last few weeks. I hate to say, almost, outside that first Raw after WrestleMania, they really didn't know what storylines to run with, and it's kind of like TNA booking in the sense that they're just like randomly throwing stuff together and seeing if anything kind of catches lightning in a bottle right now. I mean, how many times do we have these like random tag team pairings thrown together to go against Primo and Epico? We have the whole thing with Brodus Clay against Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler, which has been a train wreck so far. You had Lord Tensai coming off, his big win against John Cena, and then into a squash match against R-Truth for some reason. We have the announcement that The Miz is getting a U.S. title shot at Extreme Rules, but yet we don't even really see him at all. It was just kind of like just a hodgepodge of crap, basically.
Exactly. This is a Monday Night Raw that should be like in between pay-per-views. It should be like the middle Monday Night Raw, like where there's maybe stuff dragging along. It shouldn't be the type of Monday Night Raw that heads you into a pay-per-view. Um, and it was all over the place. You kind of forgot that there was a pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, and we'll talk a little bit more about Extreme Rules towards the end of the show here. But you kind of forgot that there was a pay-per-view this Sunday, that the main event was Cena Lesnar. Well, you didn't forget it was Cena Lesnar, but you forgot that there was any other matches on the card besides Cena Lesnar. Um, the Brodus Clay Hornswoggle stuff is good for the kids. Means nothing to me. I'm a big fan of Dolph Ziggler's in-ring work, and Jack Swagger is a guy that has a ton of potential. So I feel like these guys are being held back when they're in a feud with those two. And not to mention, Captain, I don't ever remember a time, and I'm sure that there's better wrestling historians out there than I am, um, but I don't ever remember a time when a match was sponsored by anything. This match was sponsored by Doritos. I don't ever remember that happening. Maybe there might have been in the past where karate fighters were sponsoring a match, but I don't remember on Monday Night Raw a match being sponsored and having Liv Moss at the bottom of my screen. I really felt like, from a wrestling fan standpoint, here's like that old adage of the Metallica fan who found Metallica before they sold out, but it looked really corporate to me. And a good amount of wrestling fans aren't people who wear suits and ties, enjoy corporate stuff, and talk about the stock market. We're people that enjoy professional wrestling. And I think that instance right there, granted it was later on in the show and it was basically a filler match, but that segment, to me, Captain, really took away a lot from Raw because simply for the fact that there was a sponsor. Did you feel that at all? Like WWE was like selling themselves short and almost like making the wrestling fan base feel a little bit more stupid than they try to make us feel by having a match sponsored by Taco Bell?
When it happened, I just kind of sat there, and it wasn't so much the spot. It was the fact that like Justin Roberts had to announce that it's being sponsored by Doritos. I mean, it's one thing like every pay per view, you always see like whatever, like just say Extreme Rules brought to sponsored by blah blah blah. We're used to that, but to actually have it happen in the middle of a Monday Night Raw, it really felt like, to me, it felt like how much more money do you guys need to kind of come up with during a show? I mean, we already have a ton of commercials we have to run through on Raw, not to mention having pretty good matches get interrupted by it. To now have Doritos coming into the middle of a match, I mean, it's just, to me, it just looked like a cheap grab for money.
Absolutely, and it really reminded me back to the days when they had guest hosts and they've done product placement in the past, and it just comes off really, really cheaply when WWE does stuff like that. Obviously, you and I are in the same consensus here that Monday Night Raw was pretty poor, especially leading into a pay-per-view. Let's talk about things that stood out to us that were pros. Captain, when you watched Monday Night Raw, what were some of the silver lining moments to you that while we both agree Raw was really dragging on, there was a lot of filler, there were still bright spots throughout the show that made us go, well, at least they got something done in 3 hours.
Wow, this is bad because I'm actually like racking my brain trying to think of something that actually stood out. The first segment with Cena and Edge, like anything with Edge is good. I mean, the guy from where he was when he first came into wrestling to where he is, I mean, to where he is now as a Hall of Famer, and not just that, but just how much passion you still see, how much passion that you can actually see that he has for wrestling. It's a shame that his career got cut short with injuries. I mean, the guy is, one of the best of all time.